I see my next guest who's here. Shout out to David. He's always a great guest. And like I said, always learn something every time he comes. I really want to make sure I have a spot for Africa each week because it's relevant and valuable to know. We're joined, the man himself, Dimitri Lascaris. Dimitri Lascaris, there we are. He's a lawyer, journalist, activist from Montreal, Quebec. In 2020, Dimitri ran for the leadership of the Green Party in Canada, and he is host of Reason to Resist. You can find it on YouTube. Dimitri, what's going on, my man? How you doing today?
I'm doing as well as I can in these troubled times. How are you doing tomorrow?
I am doing fine. I'm greatly annoyed. I'm deeply annoyed, right? You sent me, I was waiting for the communique. I had been waiting for it, right? Because the time zone is different here. So I was like, okay, what is this communique going to say? And just for the audience to know, after Israel attacked Doha, Doha was outraged. Oh my God, I can't believe we've been attacked. I can't believe it. The country that has been committed to genocide for 2 years, that has invaded and murdered Syrians and Lebanese and has occupied the territory. Qatar was shocked that they were going to get hit. And maybe they had good reason to be shocked. Fair enough. So they make a big fuss about this and say, we are calling an emergency meeting of the Gulf states and the Islamic Arab states. So you get Iran, Egypt, Indonesia, etc., Malaysia, all of these states show up, including the Arab states like UAE, Saudi Arabia. They talk for 2 days and they come out with a communique that says nothing, absolutely nothing, a strongly worded condemnation without any teeth, without any bite. It says absolutely nothing. It is a humiliation on paper. You sent me this and I read through every last provision that they had in this because I was like, they have to have something in here that's going to push back on Israel. Not a single word. Give me your thoughts on this, Dimitri.
I want to just add some more context to the important point made. This was attended on an emergency basis by representatives of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which together are made up of 58 states. Now, with such a large gathering, the potential for dramatic concrete actions being agreed upon was low. They were bound to be driven to the lowest common denominator. But I suspect, Jamal, that this was by design. The Qataris invited all these states because they wanted to be able to blame the disunity. And you see this already in the Western press reports about this, right? They're blaming the disunity on the failure to do anything meaningful to punish Israel for its aggression. And it not only was this attended by 58 states, but the highest of dignitaries from many of these states attended. They included the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, the President of Turkey, the President of Egypt, and the King of Jordan. So this was a big deal. And relative to Israel, the size, number, and importance of these states is enormous. But as you said, it was an absolute nothing burger. So before I get into the details, the key takeaways are these, and you've already pointed to them. First, despite all the promises by Qatar of retaliation, there is no mention, not a single one, of military action against Israel. Second, there is no mention of helping to arm the Palestinian resistance. On the contrary, this summit endorsed the New York Declaration, which calls on the resistance to disarm. And third, the communique does not announce a single economic sanction against Israel, not one. And when you and I spoke last about this, I speculated that maybe they would take some diplomatic action. They would expel Israeli diplomats from those participating states that have diplomatic relations with Israel, such as the UAE. They don't even do that much. There's no announcement of any diplomatic, action of any kind against Israel. And I'd love to get into the detail with you of this, but that's kind of the big picture of what we have here after this pomp and circumstance.
It's not even pomp and circumstance. Like that, you're talking about countries that equal, let's say, like 200 million people compared to a country of 8 million people. And they realize, in real terms, Israel has no borders. Israel is talking about greater Israel, meaning they're talking about expanding into many of the countries that were there. And to come out with a response like this of, we're angry, We don't like that you did this. And now we're going home. It's like, why did you even do this? What was even the point of coming together if this was the nonsense they were going to put together? They were even talking about like a military, like a NATO type alliance. There's nothing like this expressed in the document at all. Nothing. Yeah. It's outrageous. I'm sorry. I'm so annoyed by this. You have been attacked. Your sovereignty has been completely removed. And the best that you could do is a strongly worded letter.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's that strongly worded. A lot of it is just repetition of stuff that's already been said. This final communique is 27. I counted them pretty much. 2,700 words, 8 preambular paragraphs plus 25 operative paragraphs, each of which they characterize as a decision. So they make this sound, really impressive. Wow, this is a big deal. But when you read the statement carefully, it becomes clear that these decisions are just condemnations. And many of those condemnations, as I said, are just repetitions. I just want to highlight a couple of paragraphs, which I found particularly interesting.
Please.
They do acknowledge at the outset, in a way to their detriment, that Israel is committing genocide amongst other crimes against humanity. So with that as the backdrop, you'd think they'd have something meaningful to offer to bring an end to that genocide. Now, after acknowledging the genocide in paragraph 3, they state this. They reaffirm absolute solidarity with the state of Qatar against this aggression, which constitutes aggression against all Arab and Islamic states. So they are acknowledging this. They are characterizing this as an aggression against them, a state that they have just accused of genocide. And they stand firmly with Qatar, they say in this paragraph, in all measures it may take in response to this treacherous Israeli aggression. And they know perfectly well that tiny little Qatar, with the hugest military base of the United States in West Asia on its soil, is not going to lead the way in terms of taking any action. So this is all just clever, double speak. Yeah, we stand with them. We'll do whatever they decide to do, but they know perfectly well that Qatar is not going to do anything. And the other paragraph I just want to highlight, I just found this so distasteful. In paragraph 6, they say they support the efforts of states engaged in mediation, in particular the state of Qatar, the Arab Republic of Egypt, and the United States of America.
I saw that.
Kidding me? The United States helped Israel, maybe even was the primary actor in the aggression against Qatar. And any sensible person knows that the U.S. played a central role in this aggression. And these clowns are claiming that, with a straight face, that the United States is engaged in serious efforts of mediation. I shake my head in disbelief.
I read every last provision that they put out, because I was like, they have to say something. Something in this document has to be actionable. There is nothing in this document that's actionable. Meaning there's nothing that says we will do X in response. Zero. And this comes after, by the way, Qatar, the prime minister, openly saying Israel needs to be punished or else this is going to happen again. Israel is talking about redrawing the map of the Middle East, etc. And it's like, yeah, both of those things are true. And despite 200 million people, if not more, being represented, nothing at all.
Yeah. From 4 continents. I mean, just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's shocking. I mean, every person who came on here, to their credit, said Qatar is not going to do anything. Even you're like, they're not going to, I think you said they're not going to do a damn thing. You were absolutely, completely, indubitably, 1,000% correct. They're not going to do a damn thing.
And I wish I was wrong. I really, this is one of those predictions I would have loved to have been proven terribly wrong.
So does this mean that sovereignty for Arab states doesn't exist? It's a figment of their imagination. It's a myth that they persist up until the point that the U.S. or Israel decides that it doesn't exist.
Yeah. I checked something out today when you and I agreed to speak. I never actually looked at this before, but I inquired as to the net worth of the Saudi royal family. Because I believe that at the end of the day, all these people care about is money. They don't give a damn about their people. They don't give a damn about Palestinians. They don't give a damn about sovereignty. All they care about is their money. You know how much the estimated net worth of the Saudi royal family is?
If I had to guess, $300 billion.
My brother, it's $1.4 trillion.
Are you serious?
They are the wealthiest family in recorded history. These are mainstream sources. When you just think about that, when you've been rewarded so insanely for your subservience to the Western Empire, why would anybody think that these people are going to put their wealth at risk to defend the Palestinian people or Qatar, or even the Saudi people? I mean, these are individuals whose greed is of unimaginable proportions, and that's what their priority is, to preserve the wealth. And anybody with half a brain knows that if the Saudis, the Qataris, the Emiratis, who are also fabulously wealthy, although not to the same degree, were to actually attack Israel, or even just to impose really serious economic sanctions on Israel, the United States would punish them mercilessly and, possibly overthrow their regimes, freeze their assets, impose economic sanctions. They understand this perfectly well. And because their priority is to the preservation and enhancement of their fabulous wealth, they're not going to do a damn thing. Unless and until, and this is the key issue, Israel expands its aggression to the point where it actually begins to target these regimes themselves. Until then, I don't think we're going to see any action from them at all. They have to feel personally threatened. And what happened in Qatar was not a personal threat to the Qatari royal family. They took out a couple of buildings. They actually were quite precise, which the Israelis are perfectly capable of doing when they want to. They took out one Qatari security official who was not a member of the royal family, as I understand it. And so I don't think they felt personally threatened by this. And until that happens, and it might, because Israel now has been given a green light to continue the escalation. And they are hell-bent on the project of Greater Israel. So the issue is here, I think, well, really there are two about the future. Will Israel actually begin to escalate its aggression against one or more of these autocracies? And secondly, how long are the people in the street, the Arab street, going to put up with this crap, with this humiliation? And those are two important
questions. Oh, that is the interesting part. Because you have to ask, why all of this performative theater? Like, that's the interesting part to me. It's like, you're a vassal, you know you're not going to do anything. So why are you pretending? Why are you flexing your military muscle when they're making videos of their military? Why are you screaming so loudly into the void at the UN Security Council, or for this matter, convening this meeting? And I guess I come to the assessment that they're doing this in order to tamp down on public sentiment.
Exactly.
Like I accept that there's an element of this where they're outraged for the breaking of the myth of sovereignty. Like, meaning we thought we were different. Like, I think I made the joke once before about, the black guy, Hispanic guy, white guy in the car, and they say, hey, you N-words, get out. The black guy gets out, and they say, hey, you get out too. Talking about the Hispanic guy. Like, you're not different. You're not seen as different. You're the same person from their standpoint. And so I sense that maybe there is some outrage at this popping the balloon of Arab sovereignty. But I suspect a lot of this is, we know the public is very angry. We know this is humiliating. And so we need to shake our fists to kind of edge off some of the anger of the public because of this taking place.
That's exactly right. It's all about controlling popular outrage. You're 100% correct. There's no other explanation for this behavior. We've talked about this before. The people in power, both in this part of the world and in our part of the world, they do care about public opinion because they know that they are vastly outnumbered by ordinary citizens. And if their anger gets out of control, their own personal safety and security, power, and wealth are at risk. So they do what they can to control popular outrage through these performative exercises. But unless and until they personally feel threatened by U.S.-Israeli aggression, or popular outrage becomes uncontrollable, we're going to just see more and more kabuki theater.
Egypt, Istanbul, they were also there. Iran was also there. Their message seemed far more strident, and militaristic. And what it seems like, and I could be wrong on this, correct me if I'm wrong on this, that they are pissed off. Like they seem legitimately pissed off, humiliated even. In Egypt, Istanbul and Tehran, their message seemed to be far more militaristic. Like, look, this is going to keep happening. We'll back you with all the weapons at our disposal if any of you are going to act. But see, therein lies the rub. They all have to act, or none of them is going to act. That's what it comes across as. Like, there is no single state that says, okay, we're going to do X or Y. We know we are also on the chopping block, especially if you're looking at, like you pointed out, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Dubai. Well, Dubai's not a state, but you know what I mean? Dubai is UAE. None of these states seem to want to be the first one to get out of line. And yet, I would wager to you that at this point, all of these states also know that they're no longer safe. That at any point, their quote-unquote sovereignty can be breached by Israel. The U.S. is going to back them. And this notion of protection for oil is over with. I mean, do you think that the U.S. was trying to send a message to Doha or to Qatar or to any of these Gulf states by allowing this to take place? Or do you think it was just, no, Israel wanted to go after him, so Israel went after him, the U.S. backed the position?
No, the U.S. directed it. I don't believe for one second that the U.S. was a passive bystander.
So this was a message.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a message. And I think that Trump also, he has the same agenda as Netanyahu. They are of one mind. They want to bring an end to the negotiations. They don't want a peace deal because they want to eliminate the Palestinian population of Gaza. And even if that means massacring all these prisoners of war that they refer to as hostages, that's their goal. And so they wanted to send a message that you know, implicitly, their rhetoric suggests otherwise, but implicitly, we're not interested in a peace deal. And you need to get that through your heads right now. And by the way, Jamal, I readily accept that they probably are quite annoyed because this makes their lives more difficult and it increases the chances of popular unrest in their own countries. They would much rather, I have no doubt, they would much rather that this didn't happen. But the real issue is, what are they going to do about it? You know, and I don't think they feel sufficiently threatened personally at this point to do a damn thing.
Listen to the Malaysian PM. It just came from Malaysia, by the way, like a month or so ago. Anwar Ibrahim, Prime Minister of Malaysia, has warned that words and declarations won't be enough to stop Israel's action in the region. Quote, our people have become wary of words. They have watched us issue condemnation after condemnation, declaration after declaration, while Israel escalates with impunity as future generations will ask whether we found the courage to act. We do not act. We do not ask nations to go beyond their base obligations, he said. He said condemnations would not stop the missiles. Declarations would not free Palestine. Severe punitive action must be put into place. Diplomatic engagement must cease and must take relations with Israel. Diplomatic engagements must cease and so must take relations with Israel. So again, this sounds a far more active thing. It sounds like some of the people that were there were far more aggressive in what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And yet, invariably, you know, these communiques are watered down based upon the lowest common denominator. So that means that somebody there also was against doing anything, which watered down the communique.
And this goes back to what I said at the outset. You invite, 58 states to this emergency summit. There's zero chance that any meaningful agreement is going to come out of it. If Qatar was serious, it would, adopt an Arab version of the coalition of the willing. That infamous term that we hear so much about in connection with the Ukraine war. It would identify states who are seriously willing to take concrete action, at a bare minimum, diplomatic and economic action, and supporting the Palestinian resistance, if not outright direct military intervention. And it would invite them to a much smaller summit of people who are like-minded, if Qatar was serious. But it did this lowest common denominator exercise because they're more interested in preserving their wealth than they are in concrete action. But I do think that there are states that are becoming, this is not, it's not uniform, the opinion amongst the elite in the Arab and Muslim world. There are significant disagreements. The question is whether those that are serious are going to coalesce around a so-called, Arab version of the coalition of willing to bring an end to this monstrosity. I think at some point that may happen. I just don't think we're there yet.
Dimitri, this is very disheartening. I'm just saying it's very disheartening. To put it mildly. Do you think this is the end of this issue for Doha, or do you think Israel is going to hit them again? Israel has already said we will hit Egypt, we will hit Doha, we will hit anywhere that we need to hit to try to go after people that we don't necessarily like. Do you think that they're going to do this again, considering they were able to get away with it the first time around?
Absolutely. That is inevitable. It is absolutely inevitable. It might not be Qatar. If I were the king, the so-called king of Jordan, I'd be really worried. Really, really worried. And so, I mean, he's not hosting, as far as we know, senior officials of Hamas, but there are many people in this country who are, enraged. A large proportion of the population is Palestinian. And the Greater Israel Project clearly encompasses much, if not all, of Jordan. So I think he's in the crosshairs. I suspect that they're not going to be in a rush, the Israelis, to attack Egypt, because Egypt has a quite sizable army and they need Egypt's cooperation on the Gaza border. But Qatar may be hit again. I think the most likely target in this collection of vassals is going to be Jordan. But somebody is going to get hit again. And I think it's going to happen pretty soon, Jamal, because Israel's just been told in no uncertain terms, 58 states, okay, whose population and resources dwarf those of Israel, have basically said, we're going to do nothing.
Yep. Dimitri, you're awesome. Thank you for joining me. It was short notice, so I really do appreciate it. Dimitri Lascaris, lawyer, journalist, activist from Montreal, Quebec. 2020, he ran for the leadership of the Green Party of Canada, and he is host of the great show Reason to Resist. Definitely check him out. Dimitri, when do you guys go live? It's every day, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, we publish reports almost every day, but we go live probably about once a week.
Once a week, okay. Thank you for this, man. I really do appreciate it.
Okay.
You be
Take
safe,
care.
okay?
Peace
Bye-bye.
out. Bye-bye. All
right. Dimitri, he is great. I really appreciate him joining me at such a